Hello and welcome to Arsenal Domination, where it is finally match day. Arsenal will take on Fulham this evening at the Emirates. We know the league's gone, but this is an important game for Arsenal as they look to seal their Champions League qualification, which is all important. Of course, not what we wanted, but still a very, very important game. And of course, Fulham will have Europe to play for too, so they will not come here and roll over easily, I'm sure. Obviously, the big news this week has been the arrival of Berta. Lots of speculation about where his transfer plans will come. I've said before, I think he'll be working a lot off what players at Arsenal are interested in, will come with his own ideas. Mikel Arteta speaking about that before the kick-off in sort of glowing terms, as you'd expect about the new arrival. But the excitement there doesn't stop, because the big news emerging from Mikel Arteta's press conference yesterday is that Bukayo Saka is back, is available, and could start the game. Now, Mikel Arteta was saying that they've had to manage him quite carefully and cautiously in the build-up to this. He was pushing to try and get involved for Arsenal before the international break. Arsenal taking a cautious approach to that, and I think that's sensible. Maybe you do something different if you're sort of fighting for the title still, but at this point it's probably gone. And I think that's a wise decision from Arsenal. I think even in a situation where you're fighting for the title, Saka is that fundamentally important to Arsenal's future that seeing him not rush back is really, really important, particularly after such a significant injury. But Mikel Arteta confirming he is fit and available, and I would expect to see him in the squad tomorrow. I hope he doesn't start. I think he's better off from the bench. I think we should be taking a sort of Martinelli approach to his return here, to be honest with you. I think that's worked really quite well, touch wood, for how Martinelli's injury has been managed. And Bukayo Saka, let's not forget, has been out for longer. But what it does start to do is start to give Arsenal more options in attack. They've been lacking for a while, and we've spoken about that at length. And as I say, not strengthening January was disappointing. Albeit I don't think one player fixes that, given the extent of the injuries that you had. When you've got 4 injuries across that front line, that's very, very difficult for anyone to manage. But what I think it does do for the right-hand side is give Arsenal options, and indeed the left. Martinelli's return means that Trossard doesn't automatically have to start. We've spoken about that before. I think he's a player that starts some games and Martinelli starts others. Him starting every game has not necessarily been good for Arsenal. Martinelli's return helps that. It also gives an option in attack where we've got the option to not start Mikel Moreno and we can start Martinelli. And against some sides, I'd like to see that, particularly sides not playing a low block. But equally on the right, it means that Saka can come in and get some few minutes for Nwaneri. There is still Sterling as an option. Of course, that hasn't worked very well, and he'd be far down the pecking order now. Or even moving Nwaneri to the left. And suddenly Arsenal's attack looks that little bit more flexible, a little bit more viable. I think it will take a few weeks for that to really come to fruition, given the rustiness of Martinelli and Saka in all likelihood. But we'll see what comes of it. And I expect Arsenal to start breaking down low blocks more effectively once they start coming back into real contention to be properly match fit. But as I say, good news that Bukayo Saka's back, and that's what it does for Arsenal's attack. The other areas of options for Arsenal, I expect the midfield to be Partey and and Rice and Odegaard, with Saliba and Gabriel at centre-back. But I think Arsenal will have some options at left-back. Calafiori is definitely out. Mikel Arteta confirming that injury he sustained whilst on international duty for Italy. We'll rule him out for a few weeks. But Zinchenko or Tierney are both options there, as well as Miles Lewis-Skelly, who I expect to start. And on the other flank, there's White and Timber, who I think can rotate. Timber back in training after that illness he sustained. And I think we'll see some rotation there, because I think the key thing in Mikel Arteta's mind should be Real Madrid, and his fullbacks are going to be absolutely key, given the quality of the likes of Rodrigo and Mbappe, who will probably play more central, and Vinicius Jr. Having those fullbacks really, really match fit, up to speed, and full of confidence and form will be vital for them. So I think they're the decisions for Mikel Arteta. But how will Fulham come? I mean, Fulham we jokingly call Arsenal B, but it will be a return to the Emirates for Iwobi, Leno and Emil Smith-Rowe. And they will be very keen to show Arsenal what they can do still. They're coming into the back of this game, caught off the heavy defeat to Crystal Palace in the FA Cup 3-0, and they'll be keen to right the wrongs there. And as I mentioned earlier, they're 8th in the league, they're in contention for Europe, so they will come here all guns blazing. And they're in decent form as well overall. Their strengths coming into this game, speaking to a Fulham fan before the game, so thank you for his thoughts here. You know, is their manager undoubtedly. He's very good tactically. He's used the bench really well this season to change things in game where it's not working, either like for like or tweaking the way Fulham have played. And I think that was a real asset to them in Silva. And I think he deserves a lot of credit for the work he's done at Fulham. There. Robinson, of course, the left back, very very good. He's a threat both going forward and in the final third, and that will be an outlet that Fulham will look to use, and they will certainly be very strong down that left-hand side, which means that Timber or White, whoever plays at right back, is going to have to be at their best. I think that's possibly why you look at Timber rather than White. He's more match fit, assuming he's fully recovered from the illness, which he appears to have done so. And they can be very, very creative side. They can create chances, as well as being quite solid defensively. Their struggles are that they are inconsistent in front of goal, something we know very well at Arsenal this season. And as I say, their right-hand side nowhere near as strong as their left, and I wonder if that might be an area Arsenal look to exploit. We are obviously generally stronger attacking down the right, but do we look to go down the left that little bit more, given we know that Fulham are slightly weaker in that area? Arsenal's weakness in defence is that left-back area. I think that more tactical than personnel because of how high we push the left-back almost into midfield, which leaves a space. So that might just give Arsenal more impetus to push forward. But Fulham will look to exploit that on the counter-attack. And Arsenal coming into the back of this off a 1-1 draw last time they played Fulham. So that might be in the forefront of their mind there. Fulham have been somewhat of a bogey side for us in the last couple of seasons. And I think it's partly because of Silva and sort of the way Arsenal play suiting Fulham really quite well. So that's a sort of Fulham breakdown and the Arsenal sort of team news, as it were. Let's very quickly do the expected lineup. I think it's going to be Raya. Timber, as I sort of indicated, I think will be the right back, given the threat that Fulham pose down the left. It'll be Saliba, Gabriel, and I think Miles Lewis-Skelly after his England success at left back, with Partey, Rice, and Odegaard as a midfield three. I think it'll be Wanyeri to start on the right. Martinelli, I think, will start on the left. Meaning Trossard drops to the bench, and I think that's the right decision for both players. And I think Mikel Merino will start up front. I would like to see Martinelli get some minutes through the middle if he's fit enough for 90 minutes. And I expect Bukayo Saka to come off the bench, and that roar and that lift having him back to the fans and the players will be huge. So I think that's going to be the lineup. In terms of the scoreline, I'm actually going to go Arsenal 2, Fulham 0. Surprisingly confident for this one, but the longer the game goes on at 0-0, the more you worry about Arsenal not getting the result. But as always, guys, let me know what you think on both the lineup and score prediction, and I will be back after the game to give you my thoughts on it. Have a great day, and I'll speak to you soon. Thanks.